A tale as old as time, a boy, a girl, misunderstandings, high school reunions, and love lost and found again. Today, we are going to be discussing the novel Class of 95 by Lori Beth Five in all its romantic glory. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Noanna Brown, and today we are going to be discussing the Wattpad book, Class of 95 by Lori Beth Five, or if you follow her on Instagram or want to, she goes by Lori Writes Stories. The book is completed now. It's 69 parts, and the author actually recently did an interview on Instagram Live where she said she actually has sent the book to a publisher to get it published traditionally, so that's very exciting. Congrats, Lori. I'm really hoping it gets picked up and that you continue writing. You can, right now though, while it is available, you can find the story on Wattpad, obviously, since this is Wattpad Wednesday, or you can also go on Inkitt, which is another writing website where people can publish their work, and it is reader or powered, so the readers kind of help you. I actually am still looking into it and considering if I want to do that, but that's where you can check out the book. The summary or logline basically for the story is, what would you do if you had a second chance at true love? Would you go after it and fight for it, or you just let it slide, not really interested in trying to fight for something that you've already tried and done before? And for the characters, Eunice Reisner and her high school sweetheart slash bad boy next door, Jackson J. Castellano, they meet after 20 years apart and they try to go for it, but they have several obstacles, including the former best friend, high school nemesis, and ex-girlfriend of Jake, known as Jerry Thompson, who's a real queen bee. Let's face it, I mean, she basically wants to keep them apart no matter what, whatever the cost, even if it means her own sanity, which more on that later. But this is definitely a fun book to read. It's definitely meant more for adults, so anyone between the ages of 18 up should read this book. If you're younger than that, please, I would maybe talk to your parents about it if some things happen and you don't understand, because there is a lot of heavy stuff, including sexuality, mental health, and other things that you might want to discuss with an adult if you are younger than 18 years old. So definitely I'm going to continue talking about the book as my book talk goes. is definitely plenty of drama surrounding our two main lovebirds, Jake and Eunice. As they kind of go back and forth in high school, we see the politics of high school, the backstabbing, and like the cliques and other things, as well as the will they won't they star-crossed lovers thing going on. And you can kind of see that play out in I think it was either junior or senior year that the characters are going to do the West Side Story, and you kind of see that play out, and it's very well done, and it's kind of a nice backdrop, if I will. Other themes that you kind of go about, like I mentioned, you also have the kind of parallel between a healthy relationship play out on the page with the polyamorous throuple, I guess you could say, and also the healthy relationship that you see that's kind of in the background with the parents. Eunice's parents, they have a very healthy relationship, and you also see a little less. You see Jake's parents, they seem to have a very healthy relationship with each other, but less so with their son. That's something that kind of is a point of contention within the novel, but that's something we can discuss later. Also, mental health is a big thing, and you also have sexual abuse. That's another heavy topic so there could be some trigger moments within this novel, especially if you are reading this and you've had either been sexually assaulted or know someone who has been, or have dealing with the fallout, trauma, mental health, and PTSD. I have a friend who is very close to me, and she struggles with anxiety and depression, so those are other things that are kind of dealt with in this novel as well. So it's a very heavy, even though it's a romance novel, and those tend to be very, pardon my phrase, frothy, this is the least frothy novel. It's a real romance. You can relate to the characters in the book, so in the themes and stuff that are discussed, you can relate to and see. My favorite part of the book is the strong friendships at the heart of the novel within Class of 95. Both Connie and David are always there for Eunice. They're her strongest supporters, and they are willing to call her out when she's kind of either wallowing in self-pity or kind of full of bullshit. They're there to kind of say, hey, wake up, you're not handling this correctly, where they're trying to bring her back to herself. And that's something I really liked about the characters, and that's something that, Lori, you did a fantastic job in creating these characters and bringing those friendships to life, because you can look at these people and go, oh, I have friends like that are always there for you. They're always willing to kind of go that extra mile. And let's see. My least favorite part, and this is nothing against you, Lori. I mean, this, I promise this is nothing against you, but my least favorite part is, even though the story is written in first person, and that is something that some writers can struggle with, you actually do a very good job here. But the one thing I didn't like about this was that there are a lot of different characters and a lot of different perspectives that we're seeing. It kind of, at one point, I would get a little confused as to which perspective I was reading, so that was one thing I was kind of like, wait, who am I reading about now? Whose perspective am I getting? It kind of went back and forth a little too much, because there are a lot of characters. I mean, in addition to Eunice and Jake, you have David, you have Connie, you also even have Jerry, her extended family, and other characters that I kind of go, okay, that's not my favorite thing. Another thing I wasn't really fond of was a side story or relationship between two characters. One of them was about 1920, and the other one was in his late 30s, early 40s, and I kind of looked at this relationship, and it kind of did not leave me feeling great. I mean, the thing is with this one character, and I'm not going to name names or spoil anything, he kind of knows he didn't treat her correctly, but he kind of seems to act like, oh, I can kind of go right up to her and just smack her on the butt, no problem, and she's not going to do anything, and saying, oh, I love you, but you hurt her and you should make reparations for that. That was something that maybe, just maybe, Lori might, if she does a sequel to this book, maybe she'll tackle, but I felt almost like that little side story, it could have been hinted at, but I don't think it should have been kind of boom, because you already have like other relationships that are going on, and it kind of detracted a little bit. That was like just my two least favorite things about this story. The story of Class of 95 actually, follows this pattern of flashbacks, so you get kind of goes all over the place, starting right in the beginning, kind of like at the end of summer 8th grade, going into freshman year of high school for Eunice, and you kind of get a little bit of a backstory. And it kind of follows almost like a diary or inner monologue of the character, and we see, while Eunice is the main character, we do get some other point of view from also Jackson, or Jake Castellano, who we officially meet freshman year high school, and it kind of, the story details their relationship or secret friendship throughout high school, their will they won't they, the love tug of war, and like kind of the backstabbing trail of former friends and high school lovers and stuff that goes on throughout high school and carries into adulthood and has consequences and effects. And the author, or the character, manages to introduce herself to the audience, i.e. us, the reader. Most Wattpad novels do begin kind of with this trope of, oh, my name is so-and-so, and this is my story, or, and this is what happens, or this is what happened to me. It's first person with flashbacks, and it does, like I said, it does go back and forth in time, chronicling Eunice Reisner and Jackson J. Castellanos' relationship from high school through adulthood, their various pitfalls, misunderstandings, betrayals, and eventual finding each other and starting a family and marriage and all that jazz. Story, however, like I said, actually begins prior to high school, so it's kind of during the summer. 8th grade is finishing up, and we get some background on Eunice and her former friend, arch nemesis, love rival of Jerry Thompson. And let's see. While I was reading this, in some ways, I was kind of getting a 13 going on 30 or 1980s, like, high school, I don't want to say horror movie, but kind of, I got those feeling while I was reading this, like it was like a 1980s, like, kind of girl chick flick, or even Clueless a little bit, kind of with the cliques and everything that went on in high school. I was homeschooled myself, so I didn't really have to put up with it to that much of an extent, but I still dealt with cliques at my own church, and when I went to high school, like homeschool, there was a definite clique in there, so that's something you kind of can relate to. Also, while I was reading this, all I could think while reading this novel was, this would make for a good either TV series or movie if Lori gets published through traditional publisher. I can't remember which publisher she decided to send her novel into, but if it did, all I could think is, okay, Passion Flicks, Toshka Musk, this might be a novel for you to serialize on Passion Flicks, which is a subscription service that serializes or romance novels. They bring them to screen, or they have a subscription where you can watch other romance movies like Bride and Prejudice, or you also have, I think it's The Guardian, or you even have Sylvain, I forget this author's name, but you have Gabriel's Inferno. That series, probably one of the best romance novel series I've ever read. And the thing is, I don't like romance novels, but Gabriel's Inferno, that series, and Class of 95, those are my top romance novels that I actually like. So while I was reading this, all I could get was, okay, I could see this being the new This Is Us TV series regarding love lost, found, the pitfalls, and because there's definite drama there, and it's something that would play very well either on the big screen, a streaming service, or on TV. It's definitely one of those types of things. And the story moves along at a steady pace. There's plenty of angst, betrayal, young love, and harsh truths to swallow. Lori does best with her characters is she makes them believable and they are relatable. And that is something that I really enjoyed about them, especially with Eunice as a teenager or young woman. I'm almost 30 now, but as I've gotten older, it's nice to see more plus-sized or bigger girls being the main heroes or heroines or being the main characters, whereas more often than not, they're side characters or someone that's kind of just there to be funny. Apparently big girls are funny. It's nice to see them have more layers, more depth, and say, hey, this is a human being, they have feelings too. It's definitely something nice to see, and you kind of get that sense of, okay, this is a good role model for young women, and not just plus size women, but for young women in general, because even though Eunice does struggle with her own anxiety and insecurities about how she looks or other aspects of her life that she has kind of hidden from everyone else, including Jake, and only a couple people know, it's nice to see that she is a real character and someone that you can relate to and kind of look up to, as in, even though when a teenager she was insecure about her looks, how she dressed, and how Jerry and even Jake on occasion and other people would make her feel about how she looked or what she wouldn't do or how she kind of was trampled over. And as an adult, she's toughened up, and she's a no nonsense, I'm not going to put up with any bullshit type of girl. Once you kind of with Jake there is some leeway and they do manage to talk things out, but she kind of is, when something happens, she's like, you know what, I've had it, I'm done. And she'll, if you have a good explanation or you can kind of win her over, that's one thing, but she kind of is, she's not wishy-washy, she's not gonna let you walk all over her anymore. So she's a strong female character, and that's something really nice to see play out. And another thing is with the hero, even though we kind of have characters that are like, for instance, in Anaton's After, you have the character of Harry, or in the published version, Hardin Scott, who he's supposed to be heavily tattooed, has lip rings and other body piercings, and is kind of rough, the bad boy type. The fact of the matter is, when you see them on screen, you kind of go, they kind of almost seem to downplay it. It's like, okay, tattoos aren't hot, this isn't working, you need to be kind of hairless, pristine, pretty, flawless. And with this story, the character of Jake, he has flaws, definite character flaws, and some of them he does try to fix for himself as well as for Eunice. But you do see them there. He is a believable male character, and he's very well written, and he's very nuanced. As a teenager, he seems very polite and sweet and everything, and then as he gets older, he kind of gets a little, I almost want to say battle-hardened, because of what he's had to deal with Jerry's constant manipulation of him, Eunice, and other people in high school, and he's kind of had to kind of toughen up, especially, and I probably will spoil this, but he does have a daughter from being with Jerry, and he got her pregnant when he was only 18 years old, so he was a young father, and he's kind of had to straighten up, be a father, be a businessman, be a breadwinner for his daughter, and kind of be a supportive role model, and he does that. And his parents, who he has kind of not the best relationship with, even though they provide for him, they're not always there. They do step up and they do try to help him, which is something great. The one thing is, though, while I was reading this, there are times where the one thing I wanted more was more in-depth characterizations, or seeing more what the characters were thinking, how they were feeling, where sometimes it seemed to focus more on what they looked like or what other characters saw versus who they really were. So this is something I've actually told the author, because I'm actually going to be editing something for her. There needs to be more showing versus telling. The story the story itself, like I mentioned previously in the little book talk, was there's a lot of switching of timelines and character perspectives at times, which kind of made my head swim. These side characters were also thankfully believable, including David, Kristoff, and Connie, who, like I said, they're the polyamorous and surprisingly the most healthy relationship within this book. And that was something kind of nice to see, a very healthy relationship. The villainess is definitely, I didn't really like her. I mean, she was kind of a queen bee, and it wasn't towards kind of the very end that we kind of see just how broken and pitiable she is, because in the beginning you kind of go, okay, this is an absolute bitch. She deserves whatever's coming to her. She's awful. She's just really mean, and you don't really understand why she is the way she is, and then you finally figure out there were some mental health issues, there was also abuse and lack of protection, and so in order to kind of save herself, she manipulated everyone to get what she wanted, because she thought, okay, this is the only way I can save myself. And it's very sad, and the fact of the matter is there are people out there like that who kind of twist the narrative in order to have it favor their outcome or the way they want things to work for them, and it's very sad, but there are people like that. And so she did a great job of that. I would have loved to have seen more of this character, Jerry Thompson's inner turmoil and thoughts, especially in high school. We kind of got more of the outside perspective, or people who kind of were friends with her and how they kind of viewed her or were manipulated by her, and it would have been nice to see more of just her inner monologue, and we kind of get that more towards the end. And it wasn't too little too late, but there was kind of moments where I was like, okay, I would have liked to see more of this, because it was hinted at that she did have some sort of a mental problem, but it was only hinted at a couple of points, so that would have been something I'd like to see. As far as themes, like, you know, you have love, romance, teen angst, and you also have toxic relationships and betrayal, and you also have polyamory. While the story is a love story regarding high school sweethearts getting a second chance at love, this is a top, like, you kind of get this chance, okay, if I had a second chance to do this, what would happen? So you kind of get themes like that in movies such as 13 Going on 30. You have Jennifer Garner's character kind of does a time jumper. She wishes she was 30, so she's 13 in a 30-year-old's body, and she's kind of trying to get back to the way she was when she was younger, and she gets that chance and to kind of live that life, and she sees just how being a certain way or getting what she wanted doesn't always mean you get exactly everything or the happy ending, and that was a lesson she learned the hard way. But there is a happy ending. And then you also have the movie I think it's 17 again with Zac Efron. You kind of get some of that vibes where he gets to be in high school again and kind of gets to kind of, okay, if I had a second chance, would I do things differently? And you kind of get those vibes while you're reading this. And also, like I mentioned previously, I also definitely got a This Is Us vibe with the drama and the kind of, you see the family dynamic. And this book does really deal with family, because you kind of see the healthy aspect of the family as well as the unhealthy or toxic family relationships, especially with Jake and his parents. It's kind of mentioned or hinted at, and you kind of see the after effects or consequences of that. You also see that with Jerry and how she treats their daughter, and you also see Jerry's relationship with her extended family, and there's a lot going on in this novel. I mean, there really is, and there are times, like with the male characters, especially with how they treat Eunice, I kind of sometimes go, okay, with what they're doing, should Eunice actually forgive them? Or, you know, and she does eventually, you know, forgive a lot of the characters, which is great. And the thing is, good intentions are great, but if they're approached badly, they will have long-lasting effects, and that's something we do see in this novel. And actually, I think there's a quote here: good intention with a bad approach often leads to a poor result, by Thomas Edison. So the thing is, the main male character, he goes along with the villain or villainess because he believes he's protecting the person he loves most, and in the end he ends up actually hurting her the most, and it ends up causing a lot of drama, especially in high school, even into adulthood. And interesting enough, let's see, another side character also tries to sabotage the main character's relationship and career, all because of something dirty laundry they don't want being aired. Other themes that are touched and brought up include polyamory and the LGBT community. We see this with the characters of David, Connie, and Kristoff, as they kind of form the love triangle. Normally, I don't like love triangles because it's always, oh, will I choose them, will I choose this, and it kind of is like, really? It's annoying. But as far as love triangles goes, there's equal love and respect across this one, and it's surprisingly the most healthy relationship throughout the entire book. I mean, really, it is. Even though I don't have a lot of expertise in polyamory, is not something I'm particularly into, especially in tropes of what you see in romance novels. It's done very well, and like I said, this is probably, if you're younger than 18, this is something you probably should discuss with your parents. Or if you read the book and you're younger than 18, read it with your parents and discuss it with them, and that probably would be best for everyone. Sorry, I had hiccups. And other things that are definitely touched on are mental health as well as the trauma at the heart of the novel. As the main trio, which is Eunice, Jake, and Jerry, grapple with their past, present, and future, as there are many dark avenues. Jerry is kind of like, she's the bad girl who eventually gets her comeuppance, but it's at the cost of her own sanity. I mean, you end up finding out, and I don't really want to spoil anything if you haven't read the story, but those of you who have, the novel does deal with kind of the darker aspects of, okay, what about, parental abuse, the abuse you experience as a parent. It also kind of tackles subjects of rape and pedophilia, sexual assault, and abuse at the hands of not just parents with their children, but also with the main characters dealing with, secondary characters who are kind of out to ruin them, all because of this person's manipulation. She is so bent on destroying this girl because she thinks she's taken everything, and really the thing is, she alienates herself from everyone and everything that she claims to love, and she nearly loses her mind and her soul at this point. But the story is dealing with redemption and, like, can you regain what you've lost? And in the end, a lot of the characters do. And the character, like I said, Jerry, she is a tragic character whose world and mind broke well before the start of the novel, and isn't until the end we see just how broken and sad she is. And the thing is, everyone is a hero in their own story. However, and the thing is, it isn't until almost the very end she sees just how villainous and awful she is. And what I liked best about Class of 95 was the story itself, and how there's a lot of the characters, there's definite growth, as you see Eunice kind of struggle with her identity and who she is and what she wants and who she eventually becomes after high school, and how she becomes confident in herself. And you do see those struggles, but that is something that even as an adult, the struggle isn't always over, because we still deal with our insecurities. Something's brought back to the surface, either from a traumatic experience or something someone says. It could trigger that moment of, oh shit, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? That anxiety and that depression, or, am I good enough for this person or for this job, or what have you. That is something that I really liked. The characters, even though you see, they're not perfect, they are selfish, they try to do the right thing and they ends up being the wrong thing, but they struggle, and you do see that it makes them human and it makes them believable and relatable to the reader, and that's something that I thought Lori did really well. Another thing was, I like the fact of the matter is, I think I actually finished reading this novel at least within 1 or 2 days. I kind of kept reading it, so I was really excited to do this. I actually was originally going to do the Dormant Howl clan history, but because it's only 11 parts, this had a little more depth of character in terms of characters. And the thing is, it was steady pace, constant guessing, okay, what's going to happen, because even though you kind of figured, okay, this is a romance novel, there's going to be a happy ending, it's not so much about the ending, it's about how you get there. And so that was really fun to see. The thing I didn't like, and I think I mentioned this within the book talk section of this video, was the constant switching of perspectives, because it made the story kind of bloated. You see a lot going on where a couple of the storylines, including like some of the romance, it would have been better probably for like the character, even though you wanted to see a little bit into what was going on with these characters, and it was great, it almost felt like two romantic storylines, like especially the polyamorous couple, or throuple, I guess you could say. Even though I thought their story was interesting and it definitely added some humor and depth to the story, it probably could have been streamlined just a little bit, because this main meat of the story was about Eunice and Jake, and the other kind of side story or romantic plot line between two other characters, I'm not gonna say who they are, because I really want people to actually read this and make their own opinions and come to their own conclusion. It kind of felt like, you know, this probably could have been its own novella, or, you know, story or spin-off novel within that within this universe of the class of 95. And it just made, because of all the storylines and stuff going on, it kind of made it a little bloated, and it kind of was just a little too much to bite off. So it probably could have been broken down or streamlined or just hinted at and put in a different novel elsewhere. And because like I said, even the main focus was on Eunice and Jake, even though it was nice to see the other characters. Plus, like I said, how this one couple, how the male character treated this girl who supposedly loved and has known her entire life, how he's treated her, it kind of made me go, okay, I don't like you. I mean, you're a good man, but you're not a nice man, if that makes any sense. There is kind of a difference between the two, and it didn't make me like this character. I didn't really want to root for him. I kind of was rooting for her to go with the person she was with at the end of the novel versus him, because of how he treated her, and kind of, it felt like he over-sexualized her, and it was kind of like, really, I just don't like you anymore. I mean, you do some great things, and you're there for your friend, and you try to help him with everything, but as far as your relationships and how you treat women, don't like you. And I don't know if I can root for you or if there's any redemption for him, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, this is Class of 95. If you want to read it, it's up on Wattpad or on Inkitt, and I can include the links below. If you want to like, share my other videos, subscribe, that would be great. Also, if you happen to be on Wattpad, I would check out Lori Beth 5. She's the author of Class of 95, and she has several other books available if you want to read, including a book of poetry up there. I would definitely recommend checking this out and her books. Thank you, and have a great day!